Welcome back to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. I am Tiffany.
I'm John.
Myles.
Today we have with us Myles. Today we are honoring and remembering our blue-collar workers who have lost their lives while just trying to make a living. Myles, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you guys.
What do you do for work?
Right now I'm owner Mac Appliance and AC repair.
Okay.
So all AC, residential, commercial, residential appliances, commercial coolers and ice machines and all that fun jazz. Yeah, one-stop shop.
Very cool. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
Yeah, 1990. Dude, when I had my son, like I was trying to like have him in 2020 so he could have that same, kind of thing. Because it's so easy. You're like, oh, it's 23. I'm 33, Like I'm over there trying to do the math for like how old my wife is. I'm like,
So you're married, you have kids?
Yep. I met my wife in 2008. We got married in 2014. And then, Maddox just turned 2 in September.
He is so cute.
Thank you.
Yep. I love seeing his pictures. You come from a long line of blue-collar workers.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I mean, I can go back to like 1816, in Pennsylvania, born and raised farmers. Okay? My grandfather, he was born in 1930 on a farm, and he was the first one to leave that life. He didn't want that life. When he was, I think like 3 years old, they actually sent him to like a work camp. His mother, my great grandmother, German, straight off the boat. She passed away, and my great grandfather, he was left to try to raise my grandfather on his own. And it was during the Great Depression, and he didn't know what to do. So the best thing he could do was send him to a work camp. And I mean, it was definitely rough. The conditions weren't great, but then he met my Grammy. My great grandfather met my Grammy, and the first time my grandfather met my Grammy, I don't even know if they were married yet. They were just dating and stuff. And my Grammy saw like my grandfather. I mean, was skin and bones. And he looked at my grandfather, or she looked at my grandfather, and was like, "You're not going back there. You're coming home with us." So, I mean, he was extremely grateful for my Grammy. But yeah, he went back to the farm. He would pick apples and apple orchards and stuff. He would drive trucks at 14, 15 years old, When he was, I think 16, he went and started working at the coal mines. They needed like young kids to jump over the conveyor belts to change the belts for like the different chutes and everything like that. And then he went to Pittsburgh and started working for, I think it was his uncle had like a steel yard. And so he went to Pittsburgh and was working there. And then finally he moved down here to Florida and became a local 402 iron worker building Cape Canaveral.
Awesome.
He rode his 46 Indian down. It was a highway patrol bike. It was boarded over. Back then it was like US 1 the whole way. And so, I mean, he used to tell me, he's like, yeah, I would do 60 miles an hour the whole way down. I was like, why so slow?
60, all right.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. I was like, how long did it take? 2 weeks, But I guess like back then that was moving. But yeah, so he did ironworking for 30 years. He would tow cars. He had a tow truck. There was one point where he owned 99 Indians.
Wow.
Yeah, in his backyard he had 99 Indians, and then the worst trade he ever did in his entire life was trade those 99 Indians for 100 Harleys.
Oh
yeah, and like he beat himself up for it till the day he died. He's like, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, I mean, he would tow cars. He would paint cars. Back when the fairgrounds had the speedway, he'd be over there painting people's like race cars and everything like that. He definitely was like the artistic one in the family.
So
I was like,
talented.
I'm over there like stick figures and stuff, like he's over there
Perfect.
doing like mountain sides and everything like that. Mom still has some of his paintings and stuff that he did, but I mean, definitely like built different, dude. Like they don't build them like them anymore.
No,
Yeah.
that's like hands down the definition of jack of all trades.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
you have that kind of resume behind you.
Yeah, and so like the tow truck, he built like the whole boom and everything on the back of it himself, you know. And so in order to test as well to make sure it was strong enough, he would hook it up to this giant oak tree, right? And we're talking about like a 3500 dually, and if the front tires came off the ground, he knew that it was good enough. It could tow a car. It's crazy.
Wow.
That's
But
hilarious.
yeah, he drove trucks. This was all like being union. You would complete a job, you're waiting for the next one to start. So then he was doing this stuff like in between jobs. But yeah, freaking
Hustling.
yeah,
Straight making money.
always, and that's just the way my family always has been. We'll find a way, figure it out. We'll get by. And we're like, they never wanted to pay anyone to do something that they could do themselves. And I think that's definitely being forgotten.
Oh,
Yeah. Everybody pays everybody.
Yeah, dude. Like straight up,
I don't have time for this.
like I'm not gonna like try to change out my water pump. I'm just gonna hire someone to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Dad could do literally anything. And he learned that from Pop.
Yeah, I grew up in that world.
Yeah.
Guys, we say blue collar is a blood type, and you'll see on arkingaheadapparel.com.
Yeah.
Blue collar
It
blood
is.
type. It's in your veins. It's in your blood, Myles. It's definitely in your blood.
Absolutely.
Mac AC Appliance
Yeah.
and Mac Appliance and AC Repair.
Yep.
Tell us how that got started.
So, Dad went into the Marine Corps. He got in trouble for stealing a TV, and they gave him an option, and it was either go to jail or join the Marine Corps. And so this was like the middle of Vietnam, like at the height of Vietnam. And so he joined the Marine Corps, and he was over in Vietnam during like the whole surrender and everything. And then he was stationed in Okinawa. I mean, the places he got to go, it's like incredible. The Swedish Alps, it's just he was a 0331 machine gunner. He went to Paris Island for basic, and then he was stationed at Camp Lejeune, Jacksonville, North Carolina. And then from there, he got deployed. But yeah, when he got out of the Marine Corps, he used his GI Bill to go to school for air conditioning refrigeration.
Wow.
He met my uncle there, and then they started working for the same company together. And my dad worked for that company for 8 years. And then the owner of the company, my dad wanted to take some time off to go to my great-grandparents, my Grammy and my great-grandfather, 50th wedding anniversary. And they said no. And so my dad said, all right, see you later. So he went out and started Mac Appliance and AC.
I always say, you're working so hard for someone else. Make sure they respect you.
Oh, yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, I mean, 8 years, pouring your everything into it. And you're like, can I go to my 50th wedding anniversary? No.
Yeah. To get time off was a hard deal.
Yeah.
But you talk about your father in past tense. Your family suffered an incredible loss.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, what was it? 8/15/2016. Dad was up on a roof doing an AC job, him and my brother-in-law, and he was electrocuted. He passed away from it. It was just a simple compressor change out, something I've done millions of times. And it was the whole roof was hot, and the breaker was frozen solid, and so it never tripped. And so I guess someone just either a wire corroded and became hot, or someone ran a screw through a live wire. But yeah, the whole roof was hot, and so I mean, there was nothing he could have done,
A freak accident.
Yeah, dude.
So tragic.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
7 years. 7 years ago, yeah, 2016.
How old were you?
I was 26. Yeah, Dad was 60. So yeah, he went there. He diagnosed the compressor was bad. Everything was fine. Went back to the shop to make sure that he had another compressor, to go in there. Ate lunch, and after lunch, went back there. Put that compressor in. And then I was at work, and got the phone call, and basically my brother was like, "Dad's not breathing," And so like here I am thinking like, oh, heart attack or, this or that, heat stroke, something. I never thought of electrocution. And so then he told me where it was. And so I just left Office Depot as fast as I could, went straight to, the job site. And PBSO was there. They had the whole, area taped off and everything, crime scene. And they just told me to go to St. Mary's. So, I mean, I left, drove straight to St. Mary's, passed my mom and my sister, and got to the hospital. And as soon as I got out of the truck, you could just smell it, like that burn smell, And I mean, the parking lot at St. Mary's is huge. I mean, I parked right there where the trauma hawk lands, by the helicopter pad. And so I ran in there, and we're just, I think my brother was already there, and then my mom and my sister, they showed up a little bit after me. And so we're like in the waiting room in the ER waiting here. And they called us, to that little room. And then mom already knew. Mom's like, I don't want to go in there. I was like, come on. I was like, we got to kind of like rip it off like a Band-Aid. We got to get this over with. We go back there, they gave us the news that dad didn't make it. And everyone kind of lost their shit.
To be expected.
Broke my hand. I punched a concrete wall, multiple times. But dude, it's just one of those things. It's crazy. You never think it would happen. I mean, I never thought like my dad's life would literally end with a phone call.
Love your loved ones. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone.
Absolutely.
And respect your blue collar workers.
Yeah.
They're doing extremely dangerous jobs.
Oh, yeah.
There's not enough safety in the word safety. You can never be too safe. We're sincerely sorry for your loss.
Appreciate it, guys. Yeah. I mean, one of those things. I mean, when it's your time, it's your time. There ain't nothing you can do about it, I was like, they did, my brother-in-law did CPR, trying to bring my dad back. The fire rescue showed up there, they put the, whatever you want to call it thing, the little zapper, tried to shock him back and everything. But, it was basically, there was a wall that was made out like a galvanized steel, like paneling, it was a flat roof, and then they like built it up higher around it so you couldn't see like the AC units and the exhaust fans or everything on the roof from the street. So then he just leaned up against it, and this was August, 1:00. I mean, pouring sweat, his shirt was probably soaked, and so that all it took was for him just to lean up against it, and then just, he was stuck to it. My brother-in-law literally had to pull him off the wall. So, but and then doing so, my brother-in-law, he got hurt too. So, I mean, here's my sister, her dad just died. And then now you also have to deal with your husband, and, the father of your children, across the hall from.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't ask. That situation is
so incredibly sad.
Like, what do you do?
Yep.
I couldn't imagine what went through her head,
Yep.
I mean, and you're
Dad,
I'm sure you
husband.
love your brother-in-law and your mom and everybody there trying to support everybody.
Well, I mean, at the same time, it's like, here we are now, the next day we're dealing with, PBSO detectives, we're dealing with OSHA, we're dealing with the county, all the inspectors and everything. And then we're dealing with FP&L, and then we're also trying to plan his funeral. And then my sister's also having to go to the hospital to check on her husband,
It's a lot going on.
Yep. That whole week. So dad passed away on a Monday, and then we had like the funeral on Friday, and then I think the viewing was Friday and the actual like ceremony was Saturday. And so I mean, that whole week was just like a blur,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Just trying to plan all that stuff,
But out of your horrible loss, you have such an inspiring story that you're here to share about how you're living out your father's legacy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was working at Office Depot, and I mean, it was a job, it paid the bills barely, but it did. And I would just, one night I just broke down and I prayed, and I was like, God, is this really your plan for me? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And so then that night, I had a dream that I was at the fairgrounds and I was doing air conditioning and Dad was there with me. And so then I woke up that morning and I started looking up schools for air conditioning,
That was your sign.
Yeah. So then Mom had to close the business down, because no one had their license. Dad was the only one that had their license. So then that was 2018, her and my brother-in-law, they tried to keep it going, but I mean, he was still, hurt and everything from the whole accident. So, I mean, there wasn't really too much he could do, but I mean, he was trying to do whatever he could, as far as like the appliance stuff goes. My uncle, he owns his own AC company. So we were sending a lot of our like contracts and everything that we had, over to him. And then finally, January 1st, 2018, Mom closed the doors to the business. And then February 28th of 2018 is when I started school for air conditioning.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm. So then I halfway through school is when I got the phone call from a family friend of ours that their appliance tech quit and they needed somebody. And literally, what was it? Saturday, my truck burned to the ground in the driveway. Yeah, the battery just melted down. I don't know if it was like a corroded terminal or what, but it just burned down to the ground in their driveway. We woke up 6:30 in the morning on Saturday to like the sound of the tire exploding.
Oh my God.
So then, I was like, it's okay.
How are you laughing?
Because I can't imagine walking out, like going.
Oh yeah.
You're like on your way to work or school. You open the door and you're half asleep, and then you look and your truck is burned to the ground. You'd be like,
oh no, it was still an active fire. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
still an active fire when we went there.
That's
And so like the first thing I did was like I jumped in so my wife, she had 2 cars at the time. And so I just started jumping in those and moving them away from my truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of her cars took a little bit of damage, from the fire, but nothing severe. But at the same time, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I have oxygen and acetylene tanks in my truck. I had my soldering torches in there. I had 2 drums of Freon in there. And so Freon is not, flammable, but it's still pressurized.
Yeah.
Right.
Explode.
Yeah.
You're looking at a bomb in the back of your
basically
truck.
it vents, so like the little plastic, valve melted and then now all that Freon's released. And so, I mean, I had like 20-foot flames just shooting out of my truck. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then, dude, I had
Probably had chaos in the front of your house at 6 in the morning.
well, I mean, I left my Glock in the center console. So like I'm worried about the bullets heating and
Yeah.
like those going off. Like it was just bad. And so I was like, don't worry, I got insurance. So I called the insurance company and I'm like, oh, you don't have full coverage.
Oh my
What?
Oh.
Yeah. So that's yeah. But so then Monday, like I was trying to I was like, well, I'm just gonna have to get one of like Dad's old trucks, get it on the road and start driving that. Like I had nothing to drive. And that's when they called me and was like, hey, we need a guy. I was like, well, I'm going to school, for AC. They're like, no problem. What time do you go to school? And I was like, well, I go to school Monday through Friday from 9 to 1. They're like, that's fine. When you're done at 1, come straight to the office and we'll give you your service calls and you can go out and do your service calls. And I was like, okay, cool. And so, I mean, at that time, I was grateful for anything, And they gave me a work truck and they allowed me to drive the work truck home and to school and everything. So that worked out. I ended up working for them for about 5 years. I only really needed to work for them for 4 years just for my apprenticeship to get my contractor's license. So then I ended up working for them for just a little over 5 years. And then, June this year, I finally bit the bullet and signed myself up for my contractor's license and my exams and schooling and everything for that. October 24th, I don't know when this is going to go out, but October 24th, I go and do my business and finance exam for my contractor's license. And then November 8th, I go and do my trade part for my contractor's license.
We are so excited for you.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see where you
That'd be
take,
awesome.
Oh,
take
dude.
your father's legacy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, It's just to continue his legacy, to continue it on, to continue Mac Appliance and AC. It's not what I ever wanted to do. It's not what I imagined myself doing. Just like my grandfather hated working on the farm, I hated doing air conditioning appliances,
Yeah, but
because
now you're going to be your own boss.
yeah,
That's the thing.
And so that was one of the reasons my dad started the company to begin with. It's because if he wanted to go to his grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, he could. There was no one to tell him he couldn't.
Right.
And then if he wanted to take a vacation with us kids and go to a theme park, or my brother was a Boy Scout, so the Boy Scouts would take trips, and my dad was big part of that, as well as my mom. My mom's dad, my grandfather, he was the park ranger, Tonakita Boy Scout camp up there in Jonathan Dixon State Park. My parents actually got married there, and so I mean, for my brother to be a Boy Scout, and then my grandfather, and then my mom and dad got into it, and then they would take trips down to the Keys or go to JD and go camping and stuff. My dad could do all that stuff. There was no one that could tell him he couldn't.
That's awesome.
So, but then also he told me the whole reason he started it was in case my brother or I ever wanted to take the company over, so we had something, And so looking back at it, I was like, I can't think of a better way to honor him than to keep the business that he started, going.
That's what he wanted. He wanted you to take it over,
Well, I mean,
that was his plan.
When he left, after he basically quit, when they told him he couldn't go to the 50th anniversary, he didn't have anything. He didn't have any tools. He didn't have any supplies. He didn't have any materials. I mean, he was working out of his pickup truck. He was doing whatever he could. He would drive around and pick up appliances that people threw out. He would fix them and paint them and sand them and, resell them. He would sell them right out front of his house.
Wow.
He did whatever he had to.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sitting here thinking, your grandfather, going backwards, liked Indians.
Oh, yeah.
Did your father ride?
Oh, yeah. Dad, I mean, Dad grew up in Westgate, right? So I don't know if anyone knows what Westgate is, but Westgate is, in town. It's an older neighborhood, and basically, he would tear the streets up. He had a little Cushman scooter, and I mean, he would just, cops would chase him, and he would run that thing into the woods, or the cops going to chase him in the woods. He would just tear it up, and yeah, I mean, I got my first street bike when I was 15. Right? If there's any cops listening, I'm sorry, but
it never happened.
Right? Yeah, it never happened. This was a dream. It happened in Mexico.
Yeah.
But I was 15, and I just got my learner's permit, and we're driving back from the DMV. We went out to Pahokee to that DMV, and my mom's like, what do you want for your birthday? At this time, my mom had just gotten a new bike. She got a Goldwing, and I was like, well, what are you doing with that old Yamaha? Because they didn't sell it. They still had it. And so mom's old bike, so my dad had to sell my mom's old CB 750 when she was pregnant with me because she would not stop riding it, right? So, I mean,
the CB 750.
Yeah, dude, and so freaking...
These are a blast.
Oh, dude, great bikes. Inline fours, you can't kill them. And so then my dad got her a Yamaha XJ 650 at Maximum, and she rode that thing until 2005, so 1990, 2005, and I was like, what are you guys doing with that bike? Can I have it? Can that be my birthday present? I was like, you guys don't have to buy anything for me. You already have it.
You just give it to me.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. And they're like, well, let me talk to your dad. Dad was like, hell yeah. I got to the point where I was too big to be riding on the back of Dad's bike.
You were super tall.
Yeah, well, at that time, I was the same size. I wear the same exact size clothes that I did when I was in middle school. So I've always been this size. And so I was like, it got to the point where it started looking like two dudes on a bike, bro. And I was like, because my dad, he was 5'11", he was 220. So here I am, 210, 5'11", I was like, all right, started looking a little, but I was like, he was like, hell yeah, you can have that bike. So then the first thing I had to do was get rid of that weird Stingray handlebars that my mom had in it. And I just put straight black drag bars on it. And I took the tank off and started sanding it down. And we had this guy that, would paint for us that grew up in Westgate, with my grandparents and my dad and everything. And so he painted, the whole bike black for me. And I took off, it had the dual chrome pipes out the side, got rid of those. And I put black 4-to-1, on it. And I mean, I rode that thing for years. I mean, 2005 until, oh gosh, at least 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that bike, we had it from 1990 until 2011. And then finally, the internal gear that the starter attached to just stripped out, and so like I would even push start it, do everything I could. I put it in gear and rock it to try to find like that sweet spot for it to start. We tried changing the starter on it and everything. Finally, it's just, we had to retire it.
Yeah, it was its time.
Yeah.
So everybody in your family rode.
Oh yeah. Yep. My brother, he rides. My sister, yeah. Well, my grandfather's one of his last bikes he had when he finally stopped riding. I mean, he was probably like well into his like 70s and finally we're like, Pop, no more, And he bought a little Honda Nighthawk. I think it was like a 450, And he put like my grandfather being my grandfather, being an iron worker, he would never buy anything. He always built everything. So he built like almost like training wheels for it. Like it was like little like trailer axles with like trailer wheels. And so it, basically you could lean the bike and, the wheels would hold it up.
Keep you going.
Yeah, but he hated it. He's like, when I would take a turn, he could only go so far, and then like it would hit the wheel.
You can't lean all the way.
Yep. So he's like, it's just not the same. I can't lean it through the curves like I used to. And so we got it. My dad got it, and we took the wheels off of it, and my sister was riding it. And so then like we would go out to like Canal Point and whatever, go for like a little family ride. And my brother and I, we would get so bored because my sister was so like scared and wanted to do over like 45 miles an hour, So like we're back there just like, But then like when the sugarcane trucks would pass and like the wind would blow off of it, freaked her out, But I mean, my father-in-law, I was lucky when I met my wife. My father-in-law, he was a professional motocross racer in the 70s. And then her sister was a pro motocross racer. And then my wife, she grew up racing dirt bikes. And so, I mean, like the whole family,
They just fit right in.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, it's just, now I got 3 bikes. I got Dad's bike, when he passed away, his last bike was a Shadow Ace. He loved Hondas,
No, you can't count Honda.
Yeah, I mean, we used to always give him crap, for riding Jap bikes and everything like that, I remember we went to like a Chinese buffet or something like that, and so they gave me like a little thing of like rice to take out, and I put it all over my dad's bike. I was probably like 9, I didn't even know what was going on at the time, but yeah, I mean the whole family, Pop started it, my dad and my grandfather taught my mom how to ride on like a Hidaka, way back in the 70s. They don't even make Hidakas anymore, and but yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he used to do events with his bike.
Oh yeah. So they go every year. They would go up for Bike Week, Biketoberfest. They would do Leesburg. They would do the Peterson Poker Run. We did the Toys for Tot every single year. Dad loved Toys for Tot because being a Marine and everything like that. So I mean, I was 3 the first year I did Toys for Tots, and they tried to lock me in the bedroom and leave without me. And dude, I straight up, I can still remember it. Like it happened yesterday. I had a wooden rocking horse that my mom's dad made. And so it was like one of those things that was like handed down. Like he made it for my brother, then my sister, then I got it. And so they put it right in front of the window, right to my bedroom. So then I climbed up on the rocking horse, right? Opened the window, kicked the screen out, and went out the window at 3.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
dude. Right? So now you understand like what I'm going through with Maddox, right? So freaking I just
Oh, you know all about Parma.
Oh,
with
yeah.
our son.
Oh man.
Parma
Corn
comes in
wild.
full force.
Yeah.
If you didn't stop.
That's Maddox right now, dude. The kid, just no fear, absolutely no fear.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up riding on my grandfather at that time had a Goldwing, and he was up on the front and my brother was on the back, and I rode in the middle of both of them. And my brother, had to hold me and everything. But yeah, 93 was the first year that I did the Toys for Tot ride. Yeah, and I've been doing it every single year since then. There's been a few years with COVID they had to cancel them. They're actually having it this year. It's going to be the first time since COVID. I believe it's December 3rd. My wife sent me the date. So that's one of the things that's nice about being, working at the fair, than them lining up at the fair. Like I get the dates before anyone else
Yeah.
does.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and then but yeah, I mean, Dad loved doing toys for Tots, and then the Marines, everything always gave back to the kids.
Thank your veterans. Show support for your veterans, your
Oh, yeah.
blue collar workers.
Yep.
Seem like you have an incredible family behind you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. So Mom's actually yesterday I had to go over to her house and help her load her bike up. She's headed up right now for Biketoberfest. Her, my brother, my cousin, my niece. This is my niece's first year. And I'm glad it's Biketoberfest, not Bike Week. Like Bike Week gets wild, bro. And so Biketoberfest is a little bit more mellow. So we're slowly gonna ease her into it. Not go straight for the throat, but
I think it's
So
awesome that it's the whole family
Yeah.
taking their bikes up.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like, hey, me and my buddies are going. No,
No.
it's like your whole family. It's
No, Leesburg this year,
Awesome.
Mom and I went up, just her and I, her and I went up for just Leesburg this year, and it was the first time since Dad passed that her and I just did a bike event together, without my dad.
So now that you're taking over the family business,
Mhm.
like your father said to you, he would hope that you guys would take over one day and kind of leave it to you if you ever wanted it. Do you hope the same for Maddox?
Well, yeah, our plan is for Maddox to go pro motocross racer,
yes.
We support that.
That's
Right
top tier
behind
right there, But so there was a kid that went pro, and then same thing basically happened. He basically quit racing, and his dad passed away, and his dad owned this AC company up in Orlando, and so he took it over, and he's running it now.
That's wonderful.
And so I was like, if Maddox, for any reason he just decides that racing isn't for him and he doesn't want to do it, he'll always have, Mac Appliance.
Something to fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what it was for me, I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a deputy sheriff. And it just wasn't, the plan. So then I was like, well, I can do this. I know how to do this. So I was kind of forced into it, but I was definitely doing it for Dad, and Maddox.
You prayed on it.
Yeah. Yep. So
That's awesome. We're proud of you.
thank you
And
guys.
we wish you nothing but the best. Do you have any words for anybody?
So a long time ago, I can actually read it word for word. But when I finished school for AC, I was in a bad place when Dad passed. And where is it? There it is. So I had just completed AC school, so that was November. I think it was November 28th. I started February 28th, I ended November 28th, and
What year?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a long course or anything like that. Basically, all it is so that I can work with refrigerant. So with the EPA and everything and refrigerant, and they blame it for killing the ozone layer and
It's all
everything.
changing.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. The stuff they're coming out with now is basically propane.
Yeah.
So highly flammable. Don't ask me. It's even to the point
Scary.
where, well, yeah. So I don't know if you know what shark bite is. So,
the connector?
yeah. So plumbers use it and stuff like that. But now
Work
it's
on
getting
that.
to where they want us to start using it for AC. And it's because of the new refrigerant being semi-flammable. They don't want us soldering with it, and so now they're really starting to push for us to start
Oh, yeah.
using shark bite. Yeah,
So those things work great.
Yeah.
For plumbing wise.
Oh, I see videos on it all the time, and then basically the copper will start to leak before the actual joint ever leaks. So.
Yeah, you just click it on and it's done.
Yep. Where is this? Here it is. So basically, I just said, passed my last test. I'm done with school. I'm finally a certified HVAC technician. I was just offered a job working for one of the largest companies in the world. I got to give it up to the big man upstairs, And I said, no matter what you are going through, no matter how bad. Sorry, guys.
No, take your time, man.
No matter how bad it is, never lose faith. Dude, I was really trying not to this time.
Oh.
We love you and we support you.
So, knock you down and build you back up. If you ever feel you are at rock bottom, embrace it. There's only one way to go, and that is up.
Thank you, Myles.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically where I was, you know? And, you know, I was dealing with survivor's guilt, you know? And if I had decided to do this when Dad was still here, you know, I feel like he could still be here.
Yeah, but he's still here. He's
guiding you today.
That's what he's
Look
doing.
at-
He's
you're
looking
picking
down
up
at you
all
right
the
now.
pieces.
I mean, dude was 60 years old, you know?
Right now, though, you wearing that shirt, wearing that hat, I tell you right now, he couldn't be any more proud.
You have an exciting month ahead of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I pray every day on it. I hope everything goes, you know. You know, I still pray about, you know, like, hey, is this still my plan? Is this still what I'm supposed to be doing, you know? And everything just keeps leading me right back to it. And I was like, all right, you know. But I never told you guys. Well, I think so. Mac, right? So that's our initials, right? So then, like, my grandfather, you know, his initials were MAC. My dad, my brother,
I was gonna say it's
me.
all of you guys.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
exact same initials.
Yeah, my 2 nephews and my son. So then, you know, just really trying to keep the name going, you know. I mean, my dad literally put his name, you know, on the company. And so, like, I have to honor that. I have to keep it going.
I think you're doing the right thing.
You are.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Go as far as you can with it.
We never thought we would be in this situation. We never thought this was where life would take
Yeah, I went from
us.
swinging sledgehammers to talking on the microphone. Come on now. This is not what I was like. You know what I want to do? I want to make podcasts. Now, this is weird.
Well,
I go from turning wrenches to swinging hammers on massive machine to
It's making us
this.
happy. And to be here with, you know, friends like you.
well, when I saw that you guys were starting up the podcast and, like, I saw your post on Facebook and you were, like, asking for people that wanted to go and, like, talk on it and everything, I was like, you know, maybe Dad's story could help someone else, you know?
That's what we want.
Yeah.
We hope that anything we say on any of these podcasts or any guest has anything to say, we do hope that it affects somebody, that it helps somebody that's in a dark place, that, you know, maybe needs that little bit of advice or that push.
Yeah.
And that's why we started it. You know, it's not to sit here and talk about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want everyone else's story. We want
And you are so
inspire.
inspiring. Yes.
it's what it is, you know.
And, yeah, I mean,
We know it's not easy for you to, you know, tell this story. It isn't
Yeah.
easy, but you did it, and
yeah, I
couldn't be
mean,
more thankful.
I just hope that, you know, whatever I do, you know, I make him proud, you know?
I know you're making your son proud too.
Oh yeah, he'll see. When he gets older, he'll see.
And I mean, that's one of the weird things, you know, like, it took me a while, you know, for it to, like, really set in, you know? And, I mean, even when Dad was still here, like, I couldn't understand it, you know? And then, like, now that he's gone, you know, then, like, it's really starting to, like, set in, like, Dad did this for us, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I know he couldn't be happy, up on those roofs and those attics and, lifting those compressors and, it's backbreaking work. It really is. I mean, ugh, there's days when you're in an attic, it's 143 degrees in that attic, it's 100 degrees outside. Humidity is 100%, you're sweating a gallon of water in probably like 30 minutes, And it's just like, Dad, why would you want to do this? Who in their right mind would want to do this? Like, this is horrible work, The environment is horrible. And,
Did he tell you that someone has to do it?
right,
Is that what
it's
he
like,
got?
if I don't do it, someone else will, that kind of thing. But it's just like, I couldn't understand it. And then now it's like, Dad did all of those stuff for us kids.
We don't get it until we're parents ourselves,
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know if that's really when it like kicked in or if it was after he passed away, but yeah, definitely just like one of those like moments it just cleared
Yeah.
and it just clicked.
Because it makes you think. It makes you like, now I have a kid, what am I going to do for him?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, you're like, shit, my dad, slaved every day in the hot sun and everything for his family.
Yeah.
It makes you very grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was times when, being a kid, being a brat, like I couldn't understand why I couldn't have this or couldn't have that, and I didn't fully understand the value of $1 at that time, and what Dad had to do just to earn that $1.
Yep.
And now it's like,
We thank you for being here.
thank you guys.
We
We
support
appreciate it.
you. We're so excited for you.
Thank you. I just, did I leave anything out? Did I forget anything?
Awesome.
You want to say the business name again?
Yeah, it's Mac MAC Appliance and AC Repair.
We thank you guys for tuning in. Please remember to thank your veterans and thank your blue collar workers.
And thank your loved ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hug your loved ones, kiss your loved ones. Thank you guys, and thank you, Myles, for being here.
Thank you guys.